Jai Ma. Today we are going to listen to the seventh chapter of Roaring Silence, Few Scattered Memories. Almost 2 years now since the release of my autobiography, The Pyre of the Destined. It was in May 2011. Lots of calls received after that, inquiring about the second part of the book. The Pyre of the Destined was read all over the world by my disciples, devotees, admirers, critics, and others as well. And the enquiry on second part, naturally, when it is named first part, the expectation for the second is duly natural. I was incapacitated for a long time due to cardiac problems and kept impending the writing works. As my memory also seems to be fading, or at least little of its fertility. But for the ultra and extra care taken by under the dedicated endeavors of Maram family in toto, I am feeling better now, little recovered too. When the mind gathers courage to multiply it, we have to apply it. Otherwise, if you wait for the courage to become full, it is not going to happen. Let me try. So, as for the courage is concerned, even with just a little you apply, it will keep on increasing by itself. So, I decided to write down to the extent possible. But of course, now this time I'm not in a position to write according to date wise or year wise experiences, but little scattered memories. Even though my poverty ridden boyhood is not a sweeter one to remember, but it holds in its womb a gem of message, surely a meaning of universal law. A stray boyhood, though not childhood due to lack of child psychology, caught in the whirlpool of circumstances, but came off colorfully just due to Guru's grace. So I venture to remember. To believe in my memory to be exact, it might be around the age of 10 or 11. My studies became a concern, rather an uphill task for my poor parents to accomplish. After exploring a lot of avenues within their reach, because they too loved us a lot for them too, our separation was an unbearable agony. I hope and expect it to be so for any parents in this world till a point their children acquire the ability to exist independently. Separation is unbearable. Sometimes dying together is prepared in a lot of instances. But destiny spares none. This is a truth everyone must remember well unto their heart. The element called destiny, whenever it gets a chance, or you give it a chance to play, right from Lord Narayan up to a pauper like Sudama, it won't spare. But the irony is the so called edifice of destiny is erected, waved by our own actions. So I was, as there was no other option in sight, separated from my parents, and was sent for a stay with my maternal uncle far from my house for my studies. Then I had just completed my fourth class. On one evening, I got up from my daytime nap. During summer vacations, I saw most of my family members sitting together and discussing on something which was beyond comprehension faculties of mine, a 10-year-old. Even with that little ability of comprehension, I was able to make out to some extent that the point they were talking about was some money matters, loan, repay of it, etc. What else there is in this world of interest? Only money or wealth, women, if it did not happen, then immerse oneself in wine. There is now this internet too. Evening, the innocent poor girl, my elder sister, was appointed to utter these bitter words that I am supposed to go with uncle for my future studies, which failed to give the features of future as expected, as envisaged. My uncle was retired as a major from military and then a school teacher, so the major took control of me, the minor. I was wondering why I was sent away from my parents, but what they can do. They wanted to distribute something among children. They had only lot of miseries, so they distributed it well in advance. I learned from my sister, true to my surprise, that my elder brother will also part with eldest brother for studies. I felt sad as I liked the ancestral house a lot, an aesthetic atmosphere. To me, a lover of nature by birth, surroundings with greenery, countryside with pure air, hearts, a small river in front of the house, my little friends, especially Lakshmi, my pet cat, many to count. The vague but scary picture of my family's poor financial condition was fresh even now in front of my eyes. I presume now, because I have a lot of time, this may be the reason for a reshuffle in my family setup. Next week, I was asked to be ready to go with uncle. What a small boy of 10 years could grasp about the commitments and the situations of a big family. After a 4 year stay with my uncle, when I again joined another school 5 miles from my native village for matriculation, I watched a perceptible difference in the dispositions between me and my elder brothers, that an unrepairable gap or emotional emptiness or binding factors there between me and my elders, especially as of parents. It only started developing in me the spiritualistic tendencies and took me this far. That last 5 years, wow, I was groomed to become a man in demand, brought up with a very strict discipline, even though everybody who retired from service from military or from police are taught to disorient themselves from military mentality. Everybody want to live the same military life. Even now applies to everyone without exception. As my uncle follows, obsessed with his military discipline even after his retirement, he taught me English, especially grammar based on the book Wren and Martin. Looking back to that iron age of the days with my uncle, whatever memorized done in young age almost remain evergreen because our memory chip remains without virus, pure, in technical terms, virgin. Only later, when we download from others for free all the viruses called samsaras, tendencies, complexes, attitude, habits, even parents have infected memory card. So I was very well remember the agony, tortures, harassments I was offered or taught, expected, trained to follow, obey, adhere, maintain the military discipline, which till date have not produced not even a single person whose life is a role model one would like to emulate, not even their own children. I had a fully packed timetable or routines from waking till going to bed, and do's and don'ts written in big letters, and one pasted in the room which I stayed in his house, another in my neck like the ID card. Nowadays in everyone's neck, because today only the ID card have the value, not the human. But as to worldly comforts are concerned, I was well provided with better food, modern clothes, etc. Even though I had good food, good teachings, etc., something was missing. Felt some sense of vacuum. The affection, the love, a pat, that warm hug of my mother when I returned from school, a soft word which a child by nature expects, likes to have all along than the above material things. But nature likes a child to become a man, not a man to be childish. So, the so called universal disease, homesickness, attacked me. Sitting alone, I used to cry at nights, thinking about my mother or my home at village, or my ever loving pet, Lakshmi the cat. It is natural for every child to pass such a phase in their life, even more than once. But the difficulty is lack of awareness in parents, who are the nimitta karana for this child to enter this world. Everyone knows the technique well, how to produce a child, but least care about learning the art of raising a child. Once I slipped into homesickness for anyone for that matter, or as a rule, absent mindedness, attention deficiencies, etc. follow. But childish men who do not have a single lesson in child psychology to hide a shameful ignorance resort to idiotic teaching methods, that is stunting a child. So I used to get a lot the medicine of mad guys, good beatings with hand, when they go tired with stick, even with their holy legs, for which they thought my blunders in studies, especially in math, the worst science invented by human to make the whole world accountable, but leaving him. The very first week itself after leaving my home, a fear complex or insecure feeling developed in my mind, and to the wonder, even now, those impressions, in spite of my deep spiritual understanding, attainments, etc., creates the same scary picture even today. To drive home this point that how you people should learn, at least to some extent, the lesson of child psychology as taught by our rishis, not by Westerners, so that you may be successful in giving a good human being to the world. And no child gets a treatment like mine. Somewhere in the subconscious mind, these impressions of insecure feelings still exist, but with an entirely different meaning. They are still tender. The intention here to write this is not to blame, charge, accuse, or devalue anyone, but to make you aware what is childhood, its phases, how well it could be handled, that I learned from my own life. As a blotting paper, children's minds absorb all plus or minus points prevails willy-nilly in its circumstance, environment, which he or she goes living through. Like a caged bird, I used to look to sky for hours together, especially in the absence of my uncle, about my fate. When I think of them from here now, they were all mere empty emotions, but gave very deep anguish. It is so for every child I came across, especially during my short stint with Vanavasi Kalyan Ashram at Dehradun. Even though the mind of the child was disturbed, his studies went well. During summer vacations, I was taken to my village for a few days to stay with parents. To be frank, I used to hate my mother, father, and other elders on those days, as some unknown force was compelling in me to be convinced that all these people are not mine anymore. During my college days, when I read children's psychology, I understood all these things later. Slowly, those psychological negative feelings, which were burning like a fire inside a contained furnace, empowered, turned the direction of my consciousness levels, and started loving the Mother Goddess for refuge. When I was reading in class 6, I got a small pocket sized photo of Durgama, the Mother of the Universe, from one of my classmates. Hiding it, I used to keep it in my textbook, as there was no puja room, etc., in Major Uncle's residence. Daily worship system was not happening. Occasionally he used to call some prohits to do some kind of puja, which were not known to me yet that what it was for. But daily after bath and river, while returning to house, my uncle used to visit a temple on the banks of the river, where I used to follow him daily. I remember it as Ayappa Mandir. I used to get a banana or tirmaduram as prasadam, but to my wonder, my uncle never allowed me to eat it. I have seen some of my classmates at that village mandir having darshan and taking sweet prasad. My uncle had a different logic, or say a worm in his mind. These prasadams which pujaris gave is not at all hygienic. Keeping prasadam in hand, walking long distance to home was a tragic parading event for me. So with the photo in my textbook, so from there the faith later became practice, started gaining root that if we seek a relief from the miseries of this world and of mine personally, remedy was only a refuge as mother, friend, savior, etc. Even today. After the examinations are over, the old paper collection fellow get the smell and used to roam around houses to purchase old books. Some smart mothers seek out a better bargain. Over there, we had a system of selling out this year's book during summer vacation. Next year, while purchasing new books, one day I noticed my Amma has done away with my old books. When I came to know of this, I not know that I have developed a deep love towards Ma, to the extent, even without my knowledge, from somewhere the turbulent feelings started flooding once again. The same old loneliness which I had when I happened to experience while departing my parents, and during my stay with my major uncle. I felt like I have parted someone most near and dear to my heart. But it was not for the book, but for the mother's photo which was kept inside one of those books. I cried and cried and cried. After 2 or 3 days, some intuition came. I met that old paperwala on the road and narrated with a running eyes about my photo. He got moved and said, "Don't worry, my lovely boy. I will take pain to search you the mother." True to his words, he took pain, got and gave my mother back. This was my first kiss of grace by my mother. It was a happy moment of a deeper transformation taking place in me. As a small boy, it may be just an act of liking, but when I remember it now, aided with knowledge of value and ways of grace, how closely she was taking care of me without my knowing. Next day, when he brought in back to me the photo after searching all his bundles, he told, "Look, I worked 4 or 5 hours to search and find this. You have to pay for this to me, a good amount when you are grown up and get a job." I did grow up, got a job, left job, became sannyasi. Now I doubt the exact meaning of those words, whether it was words of the paper wala with love or of mothers with some hidden meaning. I feel her, but his payment is a sweet due yet. In the speed of my life, I failed to remember him, pay his debts. This may be the first rina to be paid. This 5 years I lived in a dull mood except for the visiting days of my sister or others from my home. Lakshmi, a pet cat, was very affectionate friend for me during my childhood days. I was in class 6 on those days. One day I got a postcard from my mother. That was the first letter received in my life. I was happy to receive a letter, that too from my mother. While reading, I broke down. The letter brought sad news of death of my pet Lakshmi. I felt as if I lost everything. Yes, when a true friend is lost, almost everything is lost. More than my parents, elders, I loved Lakshmi, and I am sure I too got the affection from her, as she sleeps, eats, plays with me daily during my childhood. In dreams, Lakshmi appears to me even now. It is the end of chapter 7. Children are very receptive to their environment and surroundings. We adults forget and had let go of our sensitivity as we grew up. In our insensitive state, when we try to parent the kids, we end up forgetting the tender nature of kids and tend to scar their minds. Especially in the modern society, with limited exposure to caring adults other than parents, we parents hold a huge responsibility. And this responsibility is not about forcing our thoughts on the kids, but giving them loads of love along with our time. It is not the spoiling kind of love with material things and keeping quiet about their wrongdoings. It is a kind of love to let them know you are there for them when in need and giving them the ability to think and make their right choices. It is a kind of love that disciplines when they are doing something wrong through the clear discussion with them and making them understand how to rectify and become better. If you found this video helpful, please do share with your family and friends. Chapter 8 will be released next Sunday. Jai Ma.